John Ronald Reuel Tolkien was born January 3, 1892. He came from a long line of craftsmen and laborers and was the first one in his family to attend college and go on and enter academia. His mother schooled he and his siblings, and he was interested in language early on. He enjoyed fantasy, which undoubtedly led to his writing of it. Although he was English, he was actually born in South Africa. His parents were Arthur Reuel and Mabel Tolkien. His mother schooled he and his siblings, and he was interested in language early on. He enjoyed fantasy, which undoubtedly led to his writing of it. There's a famous story of how, while Tolkien was in South Africa, he encountered a spider, a large baboon spider, which is a tarantula. Now, this is said to have influenced his later work in The Lord of the Rings, creating the creature Shelob. Tolkien himself says he doesn't recall much of the event, but others said that someone literally had to suck the spider venom out of his arm where he had been bitten. It's interesting to note that something that occurred so early on in his life could go on to impact his later literary work. He and his siblings, along with his mother, were visiting England when his father died back home in South Africa, and he decided just to stay there. Tragically, his mother died not that long after, of diabetes. See, back in those days, they couldn't just medicate you with insulin. Diabetes was often fatal. He was an unbelievably bright boy. He knew Greek and Latin by the age of 12. He attended King Edward's School in Birmingham, where he continued to excel academically. While living on his own, at the age of 16, he met a girl, Edith, who was 19. They became friends and quickly fell in love. However, his priest forbade the two from corresponding till he was 21. He had honored his mother by becoming an Orthodox Roman Catholic, just as she was. He would continue on in this devout faith for the rest of his life. He is said to have played a role in C.S. Lewis coming to the faith as well. He would wind up marrying the girl March 22, 1916, before he was sent to war. He was reluctant to join the war, but eventually did so. He fought on the Western Front for 4 months before developing trench fever in November of that year. He had to be sent home and still had remnants of the illness, but was able to serve at home and sought academic employment following the close of the war. He took up a post at the University of Leeds, where he began work on the New English Dictionary. This is where he officially constructed his Elvish language. It was while he had this post at Leeds that he had 2 more sons born to him, Michael Hilary Reuel and Christopher Reuel. In 1925, Tolkien took up a post at Oxford University. He did not have an immense amount of published work at this point in time, yet was still respected, contrasting with today where you need publications to be accepted. He had a closely associated group of writer friends known as the Inklings, including notable members such as Neville Coghill and C.S. Lewis, among others. And it was to this group that he would reveal his masterpiece later on. The Hobbit was first published in 1937 and was the start of the work that made Tolkien famous, The Lord of the Rings. It all began when Tolkien was grading the test of one of his students, and the very last page was left blank. Suddenly inspired, Tolkien wrote the words, "In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit." He stared at these words. He did not know what they meant. What was a hobbit? And why did it live in the ground? Tolkien set out to answer these questions, and did so via The Hobbit. It was initially intended to be a children's story. He developed a plotline of it while telling his children's stories before they went to bed. What was initially written as a children's tale morphed into a complex and symbolically significant fantasy series, incorporating older stories and his made-up language. He pored over these stories meticulously before the trilogy The Lord of the Rings was released between 1954 and 1955, gaining him worldwide fame and wealth that surprised even Tolkien. Tolkien retired from work in 1959. He and Edith moved to Bournemouth. On the 22nd of November, 1971, Edith, the love of his life, died. Ronald would be soon to follow less than 2 years later, in September of 1973. The two of them are buried together in a single grave in the Catholic section of Wolvercote Cemetery in the suburban Oxford. This burial is characteristic of the life they spent together, in complete love, always at one another's side.